All right, let's get right into it. Today we're taking a deep dive into ransomware, that digital threat that can literally bring a hospital, a city, or even just your own computer to a grinding halt. We're going to break down what it is, how it's ballooned into this massive criminal industry, and most importantly, what you can do to keep yourself safe.
So let's start with just one number to really get a sense of the scale we're dealing with. 53%. That's the jump in a single year, 2025, in the number of ransomware victims that showed up on criminal leak sites. Yeah, this isn't some small-time problem. It's a full-blown digital epidemic, and it is growing at a terrifying pace.
So what is this threat, really? I mean, if you're picturing a simple virus that just locks your files, we gotta update that image. The game is totally changed.
Okay, here's the core idea. Ransomware locks up your data, basically holding it hostage until you pay up. But, and this is the modern, absolutely chilling twist, before they lock anything, they steal it. They make a copy of everything. So now, the threat isn't just about getting your files back. It's about stopping them from dumping all your private info out on the public internet. And believe me, this isn't just a headache for big corporations. The impact is devastatingly real right across our society. We're talking about hospitals having to turn away patients, city services grinding to a stop. The stakes really could not be higher. So how does an attack like this even happen? Let's walk through their playbook, Understanding their process is the first step to stopping them. It really boils down to three main stages. It all kicks off with the infection. That's the moment the malware sneaks its way into a system. Then comes the encryption, where it quietly starts locking up every important file it can find. And finally, you get the ransom demand. A note just pops up on your screen with instructions and a price, and they almost always want payment in some untraceable cryptocurrency. So how do they get that initial foothold? Well, attackers have a whole toolkit of tricks. The classic is the phishing email with a dodgy link. Another huge one is breaking in through insecure remote desktop connections, usually with stolen passwords. A much sneakier route is the supply chain attack, where they hack a trusted software partner to get in the back door. And of course, they are always looking for systems that haven't been updated, so they can waltz right in through known security holes.
But it's not just the tactics that have changed. It's the whole business model. Ransomware isn't run by some lone hacker in a basement anymore. This is a highly organized, professional, multi-billion-dollar industry. Seriously, think of it like a dark version of a Silicon Valley startup.
And this shows the biggest shift in their whole strategy. It used to be simple. Your files are locked, pay us to get them back. But then they realized, hey, smart companies have backups. So criminal groups came up with what we now call double extortion. First, they steal a copy of all your data. Then they encrypt your originals. Now, even if you have perfect backups, they've still got leverage. You're not just paying to unlock your files. You're paying to stop them from leaking everything. And this professional model has a name, Ransomware as a Service, or RAS. And the best analogy for it is a fast food franchise. I'm not kidding. You have a central group that develops the malware, the secret sauce, and the payment portals. Then they license it all out to affiliates who actually go and carry out the attacks. The developers get a cut of every single ransom, which is how this whole threat has scaled up so incredibly fast. So who are the big players in this dark economy? I mean, these groups tend to rebrand and disappear all the time, but a few have become pretty infamous for just how much damage they've caused. One of the major players right now is Keylin. This group kind of blew up in 2025, basically absorbing talent from other gangs that got shut down. Their big thing is highly customizable ransomware, which means their affiliates can tweak the attack to perfectly target each victim's specific weaknesses. Then there's Akira. This is a group that goes after both Windows and Linux systems, and they have this really clever trick called intermittent encryption. So instead of locking a whole file at once, which is noisy and sets off alarms, they encrypt it in little bits and pieces. It's way stealthier and helps them fly right under the radar of a lot of security software. And you've also got the Playgroup. They are masters of double extortion and have a crazy track record. They've hit over 300 organizations around the world, including major companies and even government agencies. They're a perfect example of just how ambitious and large-scale these criminal operations have become. Okay, enough about the attackers. We've seen their playbook. Let's get to the most important part. How do you actually fight back? Let's build a solid defense plan. Look, the key to a strong defense is layers. There's no single silver bullet. First up, you need human firewalls. That means training people to spot and report phishing attacks. Second, backups are your absolute lifeline. Just make sure they're recent and ideally stored offline where ransomware can't get to them. Third, patch your systems. It's like locking the doors and windows that attackers are constantly checking. Fourth,
Multi-factor authentication is completely non-negotiable. It's such a simple step, but it blocks the vast majority of password-based attacks. And finally, you have to use security tools that are specifically designed to spot and block the weird behaviors of ransomware.
But what if the worst happens? Even with the best defenses in the world, a really determined attacker might just get through. What you do in those first few minutes is absolutely critical.
Okay, so if you see that ransom note, try to stay calm, but you have to act fast. First thing, quarantine the machine. Unplug the network cable, pull it off the Wi-Fi, whatever it takes to stop the infection from spreading. Now, this is crucial. Leave the computer on. Shutting it down can wipe out digital evidence in the memory that might be needed to recover. Next, if you can, copy the encrypted files to an external drive. Why? Because you never know. A free decryption tool might come out down the road. You can check for those at sites like the No More Ransom Project, but ultimately, your safest bet is to completely wipe the infected machine and restore everything from a clean, trusted backup.
And that really brings us to the key takeaway. Ransomware isn't a static thing. It's a constant arms race. The attackers are innovating every single day. So the question you really need to be asking yourself is this: are your defenses keeping up? Thanks for joining me.